Top of the morning! This video is about salt. No, not about the salt on your fries or in your soap or when you're making human soup in the bathtub. It's about salt in the ground. Okay guys, imagine you've got a garden and you've planted some kick-ass plants in it. Now your soil is becoming salinized. This means that salts accumulate in upper part of your garden soil. Wait a sec, that's not cool for your plants because the salt extracts water from the roots. Holy crap! I'm sure you've been to the beach before, right? And you've gulped down some nice salty water just to be even thirstier than before. The salt takes water away from your body. It does exactly the same to the roots of plants. Okay, so salt draws away water from plants. That's why you don't want your garden soil to salinize. Now the question is, why do soils become salinized? Or put differently, why does salt accumulate in the topsoil of some soils? First of all, there's one important thing to consider, and that's that salts dissolve in water. Here we have some soil with a lot of salt. It rains down hard on it. A lot of water seeps away. The seepage water then absorbs salts. The salts then flow into deeper soil layers and into the groundwater. This is called leaching. The salt packs its bags and moves downstairs with the water. Okay, so rain washes the salt downwards. But there is also a phenomenon working in the opposite direction. Evaporation. Under very warm conditions, plants and the soil give off a lot of moisture to the atmosphere. This causes water to rise through the pores in the soil. It is sucked upwards by the sun, so to say. This is due to the so-called capillary action. If you feel like it, you can take a closer look at that phenomenon as well. But don't worry, we won't force you to. The rising water takes salts with it from the groundwater and the lower layers of the soil. This salt then accumulates in the topsoil, where the roots of the plants are, and that's pretty annoying. Okay, anyway, it's not raining all the time in our garden. Sometimes the water moves down and sometimes it moves up. In other words, sometimes there's more precipitation and sometimes there's more evaporation. It's very important to look at the situation throughout the year, which is what we call the water or hydrological balance. The water balance can be positive or negative. Okay, so what's a positive water balance? The total amount of precipitation is higher than the quantity that evaporates. In total, there's more sinking water than rising water. If the water balance is positive, the salt moves from the top to the bottom. On the other hand, we can also have a negative water balance. Taken over the entire year, more water evaporates than is replenished through precipitation. In other words, the salt rises up into the topsoil to accumulate there. With positive water balance, we have desalinization of the upper soil layer. Conversely, a negative water balance leads to salinization. So, salinization is a problem in those areas where more water evaporates than is added by rain. This occurs in arid regions. This is why there's a high risk of salinization in these arid regions. Imagine that you have a nice little garden which just happens to be located in such an arid area, and your topsoil is salinized. What measures can you take to desalinize the soil again? To start, you can water your garden. In other words, an artificial increase in the precipitation. If you manage to achieve a positive water balance, you can desalinize your soil over time. But it is very important that the water seeps away properly into the soil. If water accumulates, it is prone to evaporate again. This will increase the degree of salinization instead of counteracting it. More water evaporates and a larger amount of water rises from lower soil layers. It is therefore very important that as little irrigation water as possible evaporates during irrigation, so that water doesn't accumulate on the surface. The water should seep away easily. This makes it much easier to realize a positive water balance, and on top of this, you can save some water for your shower. An added benefit is that you don't add any extra salt from above. Many fertilizers are salts. So, if you fertilize too much, you also run the risk of salinizing your soil. Okay, let's recap. Salinization means salt accumulates in the topsoil. Salt removes water from plants and is therefore harmful. Salinization takes place with a negative water balance. You can avoid salinization by, for example, proper irrigation or avoiding mineral fertilizers.